Adrian Davis, and this show is about one simple truth. When the stakes are high, your customer is the hero. Over the course of this series, I'll be introducing and exploring the 6 principles of high-stakes customers. And these principles are really designed to help you see your customer more clearly, engage with them more meaningfully, and show up as the guide they actually need. Today, I'm going to be discussing principle number 4, which is measure what matters. Measure what matters. What do I mean by that? Well, if we're in business, we're familiar obviously with P&Ls, profit and loss statements. If we're in sales, we're obviously familiar with quotas and hitting the numbers. And so most people are measuring numbers around outcomes. And of course, these matter, but they don't matter in terms of steering the ship. What do I mean by that? Well, none of us would drive looking through the rearview mirror. Nobody does that. Everybody looks through the dashboard or looks through the windshield and looks at the dashboard because we're concerned about where we're going and making corrective actions if they're needed in time. If we're looking at the rearview mirror, it's too late, right? Whatever corrective action we could have taken, the moment has passed. And I think when we're looking at numbers, it's very similar to that. You know, a profit and loss, the bottom line on a P&L is a backward look. If we see great profitability in our bottom line, what that profitability is indicating or what that profitability is telling us is that we did something great, something that was highly valued to our customers in the past. It is no guarantee that next quarter or next year we'll have great profitability because the world is constantly changing. In fact, the world is accelerating in its pace of change. And therefore, what our customers value is also changing. And therefore, what was valued yesterday may not be valued tomorrow. Competitors might catch up, priorities might change. And so being confident about the future based on last year's P&L or last quarter's P&L is like driving, looking at the rearview mirror. What we need to focus on, and when I say measure what matters, ultimately what I'm saying is shifting from measuring lagging indicators to measuring leading indicators. And I don't mean we don't measure lagging indicators. Of course, that's the scorecard. You know, that tells us whether or not we won the game. But it doesn't give us the information to actually navigate and course correct during the game. And so that's why we need to have some emphasis, not entirely, but some, on leading indicators, especially when we're starting a new strategic relationship or we're starting a new strategic initiative. Leading indicators matter a great deal. Why? It's my observation, and I just sort of use this rule of thumb, this observation, that to create real strategic value, to have real strategic impact, generally speaking, it's like 3 years. It's like, if we're doing something big, year 1 is, a lot of chaos as you're trying to introduce new processes, new systems, new approaches, new methods. There's a whole bunch of change management involved in year 1. Year 2, we begin to see traction. There's some payoff of the work that was done in year 1. And now by year 3, new methods are established, new habits are developed and become routinized. And now year 3, we're sort of off to the races and we see real value. That's generally speaking, especially with big systems, that's what I see. What's the problem? The problem is people don't have patience to hang around for 3 years. And so 6 months in, 9 months in, certainly a year in, people are beginning to question their investments, which is just a sound thing to do, but increasingly so because of the acceleration of change around them. That the investment that they made a year ago, today they're in a different world. Priorities have shifted and new opportunities have emerged. And so there's the temptation to cut whatever spending they're doing with you. There's a very strong temptation to cut it and redirect it. One of the only ways that I know of that you can protect the investment that they're making in you is to track leading indicators. That 3 months in, 6 months in, 9 months in, we're not at the 3-year mark yet. We're not even at the 12-month mark yet. But 3 months in, we have evidence that this is working. 6 months in, there's clear indication. There's every opportunity, or every possibility here. In fact, the probability is very high. We're going to have remarkable success. And so now, when new opportunities emerge, now when priorities change, they're going to be very protective of the work that they're doing with you. Success it attracts success. And so when they start to see, yeah, this is working, they're going to kind of put, all the chips go in on this bet, right? This is the bet we're going to move in on, especially within these large corporations. These successes matter to their career. And so when they start to see like, yeah, this is working, we're getting traction here, they're going to stick with you. So what do I mean by leading indicator? What's an example, Adrian, of leading indicator? How would I know what to measure? So certainly, of course, you're measuring a quota attainment, you're measuring profitability, you're measuring these outcomes that you're driving towards. What I would say is, first of all, let's talk internally before we talk about the customer. But I would say internally, let's say it's a sales team that I'm managing. Yes, I care, but they better be hitting their numbers, and I need to support them and help them in hitting their numbers. But one of the things I'm going to look at very early on as a leading indicator is their calendar. Let's open up your calendar. How many meetings are you getting each month? How many first meetings are you getting? Or are we starting new conversations with new businesses, with new organizations? Because that indicator alone, number of first meetings per month, if you tell me today how many first meetings a sales rep has in their calendar this month compared to last month, I can predict, depending on sales cycles, what their funnel, how healthy their pipeline or their funnel is going to look in 6 months. So first meetings is a powerful leading indicator. So that's first meetings, and then just subsequent meetings as well. How many meetings are in the calendar? Or do people want to meet with you? Time is so precious today that it's not unusual for a salesperson to struggle to get meetings, especially with senior executives. So are you getting meetings in the calendar? And have these meetings been accepted by your counterpart, the actual stakeholder? That's a key indicator of success. The second I would look at is the quality of these meetings. So great that you have the quantity, and every industry, every business is going to be different in terms of what's the standard we're looking for. In some industries, it's like, hey, 2 meetings a week is fantastic. If we're getting 8 meetings a month, this is remarkable. Whereas other industries, we need 8 meetings a week, never mind a month. It just depends on what we're selling, what the sales cycle is. But you should have a good sense of what the standard is that you're communicating to your people. Great. We see the quantity is there. The next thing I'd want to look at is the quality. And by that, I mean, who are you meeting with? So wonderful if you're getting these meetings, but if they're all with frontline managers who actually don't make the decision, who don't control the budget, then this is worrying to me. I want to make sure that you're meeting with executives who control budget. Executives who, prior to meeting with you, they were not really thinking about this initiative. But now that they've met with you, you've sparked their imagination, and they're already figuring out how they're going to pay for this. And they're already thinking of initiatives, what I was saying earlier, they're already thinking about initiatives that they're going to slow down or stop and move that money into this initiative. We need to make sure that our people are meeting with that level of executive. And then finally, I'd look at, in terms of leading indicators, I would look at, for these meetings that you're getting, I'm looking for 2 things. One is, what action is the stakeholder taking as a result of this meeting? So if you come out of the meeting as a salesperson, I'm the sales rep, and I come out of this meeting and I come back to you and say, it was a great meeting. And you say, well, how did it go? And I say, oh, they loved me. It went really well. I did a presentation and they really loved it. To me, this is all smoke. What I would want you to ask me is, great. who did you meet with? And what are they doing differently as a result of this meeting? That's the key. That if your salespeople are showing up in these meetings, and as a result of their presence, stakeholders are taking a different course of action than they would have otherwise, this is where the magic happens. So who are you meeting with? And what are they doing as a result of meeting with you? Are they taking action? Or are you coming back saying, I'm going to put a quotation together, I'm going to make a proposal, I'm going to get some information from... Is the salesperson doing all the heavy lifting after the meeting? Red flag. Because this is the customer's problem that the customer is trying to solve, or an opportunity that the customer is trying to realize, and they need to be working towards that. Salesperson is helping direct what work needs to be done. And then the other thing I'd look at after these meetings is how many of these meetings do you have where you just continue to meet with the same stakeholder over and over again, versus after you meet with this stakeholder, the next time you meet with them, they're bringing other stakeholders to the table. If that's not happening, major red flag, because it means that this conversation that I'm having with you, you're the key stakeholder, I'm the salesperson. This conversation that we're having, it's interesting. It's a fact-finding mission for you. It's an opportunity for you to kind of learn what's going on out there, get the scuttlebutt of what's going on in the industry, but it's not real. Nothing is happening inside your organization with respect to our conversations. If, on the other hand, we have this conversation and we're scheduling the next meeting, and you're telling me that you need to bring somebody else into the meeting, that tells me, okay, this is getting internal traction. So this is what we mean by leading indicators. And if these indicators are not pointing in the right direction, we have time to course correct. We can sit with our sales team and talk to them about the importance of these things and get them to take corrective action. So now we can get traction. And again, the more these are leading indicators, meaning they're pointing to future success. It's like, when I'm driving, I step on the gas and the speedometer needle moves. So the leading indicators are like stepping on the gas, and the lagging indicator is like this speedometer. So I do this to move that. And I want my salespeople to understand that it's not just about activity, it's about meaningful activity. So that's on the internal side. Externally, let's think of it this way. Again, the customer is the hero. They need to be successful. So what indicators do we have that we are making them successful? And this is especially true post-sale, when we were actually implementing. This is the sale after the sale. That we need to be very clear on what are the business outcomes they are buying from us. In fact, we should be so clear about that it's in our proposal, it's in our business case, that we understand very, very clearly what is the business outcome we are collaborating around to achieve. Once we have that business outcome, we need to work backwards to say, okay, what are the activities or the changes that we can drive to move that needle? So think of that needle as the outcome and the activities as the accelerator. What is it that we can step on together to accelerate your success? The more we can make these indicators move for the customer, the more successful they're going to be. Again, they're going to be able to brag internally about what is happening. So think about what is the outcome that you drive, and how do you dial it back to what activities the customer must successfully adopt and achieve to drive that outcome. This is what we mean by measuring what matters internally for ourselves and externally for the customer, and collaborating, especially externally with the customer, around these metrics. So again, every industry is different, but depending on what your industry is, what's the outcome? And then what are those leading indicators that can drive the outcome? One of the wonderful things about measuring these leading indicators is it allows you to demonstrate momentum. And I want to give you two examples. One's a bad example, one is a great example. In the bad example, I had a customer that was setting up a key account management program. very excited about it, really had the vision, really like just was with it. He clearly understood. He had done this in a previous life. And he really invested in his people. He handpicked them, brought us in to train them, and really put together a very sharp program. One of the things I said to him early on was it's important for you to establish a baseline with leading indicators so that as the program matures, you'll be able to demonstrate progress from the baseline. He heard me, and we spent quite a bit of time talking about it, but he didn't do anything with it. And unfortunately, it was probably maybe 18 months later, and I had a check-in with them. And I got to tell you, I was impressed. I was super impressed because he brought these people in to be key account managers. They did not have this experience. It was a whole new world to them. They were eager. They were very energized by it, and they really adopted it. And when I did my check-in, I was like, "Yeah, this is good. Congratulations, you've made remarkable progress." Unfortunately, around that same time, his boss and his boss's boss left the organization. They were very supportive of him. They bought his vision, totally supportive. His boss and his boss's boss left, and he inherited a new boss who was just different, was all about the lagging indicators, and didn't understand why the company was investing in this strategic approach that wasn't yielding the numbers. It would eventually, but not right now. And she was under pressure to show results like right now. And she wants to be this mover and shaker and show fast. Hey, I'm here. Look at the results I've got. And so she began to question, what is this program? Why are you doing it? And he did not establish a baseline. So whatever behaviors she was seeing in the key account managers, it was like, so what? Weren't they always doing this? She didn't know what they were doing before. She had no idea how much they had grown, and there was nothing to compare to. Long story short, and unfortunately, he was let go. And the key account managers who were doing so well, becoming really strategic in their thinking, they were put back into a sales role. And you can imagine how demoralizing that was for them. I don't even know if they're still there now. But that's an example of, again, the impatience and how the world is constantly changing and how you need to set yourself up for success by having a baseline of leading indicators that you can show progress against the baseline. Yeah, we're not at the outcome yet. There's still a road to travel, but look how far we've come. And when people see that, they're like, okay, yes, there's momentum. Let's support that. Another example is a strategic account manager, really responsible for multi-million-dollar deals in this case. And she was pursuing an opportunity with an existing customer. And the executives were not really buying it. It's like, yeah, you've been spending a lot of time on this account. Why don't you put your attention elsewhere? Fortunately, in this case, she did establish a baseline. And in her case, she was focusing on number of stakeholders engaged, level of stakeholders engaged, and the outcomes of the meetings that she was having with them. And she was able to put together this beautiful synopsis of what progress she is making within this account and which executives within this account are leaning in and what they are doing and what they are saying about the importance, the strategic significance of this account and of this opportunity, this initiative, and the strategic significance of the partnership that they could see between them and her company. So she was able to relay this back to her executive team. Not only did she get the green light to continue progressing on this, but they all wanted to participate. How can we help? How can we be a part of this? And that's what I mean by establishing leading indicators in order to demonstrate momentum. And that's perhaps the most important word. When you can demonstrate momentum, that's where people want to jump. People love success. And when they see success, they want to participate in it. They want to be a part of it. So do take the effort. And I know sometimes it doesn't feel like I don't need to do this. There's no urgency to do it. But when you need it, you'll be glad that you established leading indicators and a baseline for those. I'm Adrian Davis, your host for the High Stakes Customer Podcast. And this podcast is brought to you by Whetstone, where we believe that high stakes growth does not happen by accident. It happens when organizations align how they understand customers, how teams work together, and how decisions get executed under pressure. Whetstone, sell sharper, grow faster. I'm Adrian Davis, and I hope you will listen, subscribe, and sharpen your own capability in the relationships that matter most to you.